Hello everyone, I am Sumit Saxena. Today we are going to see GATE 2019 Mechanical Set 2 solution for production planning and control, inventory control and operations research. Before jumping to the question set, let's see how many questions have come in the paper and the distribution of the marks for these particular subjects. So there are total two questions of 2 marks each. So total 4 marks. So around 4% of the total paper. So let's go and see the first question. The activities of a project, their duration and the precedence relationships are given in the table. For example, in a precedence relationship, x less than y comma z means that x is predecessor of activities y and z. The time to complete the activities along the critical path is how many weeks? The question is asking. So in the question, certain activities are given, as we can see here. Their duration is given and the precedence relationship is given. And how the precedence relationship work is, if it is written as x less than y comma z, that means x is predecessor of activities y and z. So if here it is given that a is less than b comma c comma d, so a is predecessors of activities B, C, D. Similarly, in this, B is predecessor of E, F, G. So, to solve this question, first of all, we have to create a network diagram by these activities and find out the critical path. So, what is the critical path and how to calculate the critical path? To solve this particular question, we are going to draw the network diagram as activity on arrow type. So there are two types of network diagram, activity on node and activity on arrow. And we are going to use today activity on arrow type of network diagram to draw these given activities. To draw the network diagram, there are certain rules for network construction. Now, what are those rules? So the first rule is an activity can only be started when all the activities earlier to it are completed. So in short, we have to comply with the precedence relationship given in the question. So let's say if the precedence relationship is given such that activity C can only happen after activity B, so activity B has to be completed before starting the activity of C. Now, next is no two or more activities may have the same head and tail events. So let's say this is the node 1, this is node 2, and we have certain activity, activity A, activity B, and activity C. So this is not allowed. Having the same head event and same tail event for each activity is not allowed. To resolve this particular issue, we use there's something called as dummy activity. Now, what is this dummy activity? So this is an activity which is used to show the logic or dependency or relationship of one activity over the other. But keep in mind that it does not consume any time or resources for its completion, and it is called as dummy activity, and it is representative as dotted line. It is not represented by solid lines, it is represented by dotted lines, and the time or resources consumed by this dummy activity is 0. Now, the third rule is the length and direction of arrow is indicative only. It means that the arrow we are using here, either in this or in this, it is indicative only. Its length does not mean the time consumed. So the length of arrow does not represent the time consumed. So it doesn't mean that one arrow is small, another arrow is large, means the first activity is taking less time and the other activity is taking more time. It does not represent that. Next rule is there should be no looping is present in the network diagram. Now, what is this looping? So, looping is basically if you have a network diagram, something like this, and if this particular arrow is going backward, so there is a loop here. If you go from activity A to activity B to activity C to activity D and E, so BCD is making a loop which is not allowed. It is not permissible in a network diagram. Now, another rule is that dangling is not allowed. Now, let's see what the dangling is. So, it is when an activity other than the final activity does not have any successor activity, then the situation is called as dangling. Now, let's see what is this. Let's say if you have a network diagram, something like this. Now keep in mind here I am drawing this arrow towards right, not towards left. So this is not a loop. So if you have some activity here A, here B, here C, here D, let's say this is E, this is F, this is G, and if you have another activity here, something called X, which is not going any further, and let's say this is the final node, this is the starting node, so this activity X does not have any successor and it is not the final activity as well. So this situation is called dangling, which is not allowed. How to resolve this particular situation? To resolve this particular situation, we will not leave it activity here. We will delete this and we will join this particular activity to directly to the final activity. So now there is no dangling present in our network diagram and the issue is got resolved. So till now we know how to make the network diagram. So now let's see what is other given in the question paper. So in question paper, it is given that what is the critical path. See here in the last line, it is asked what is the critical path. Now, what is this critical path? Let's see what the critical path is. So it is the maximum time consuming path from the first event to the last event in the network diagram. So if you have a particular network diagram, let's say something like this. Some activity A, then B, then C, then D, somewhere here E and F, and let's say this is G. So we have A, C, D, G path, B, D, G path, E, F, G path. There are three total paths, and whichever the path is taking the maximum time is called the critical path. And the time taken along the critical path is termed as expected project completion time. And the activities along the critical path are termed as critical activities. So now to calculate the critical path and the corresponding activities, we have to travel this particular network diagram. Travels in the sense we can travel any network diagram in two ways, the forward way and the backward way. So let's see very first what is the forward way. So this is called forward pass computation. Now, what is this forward pass computation? So in this, we compute the time at which an event is expected to be completed at the earliest. So we will try to calculate the earliest time for each and every event. Mind it, we are talking about event. So let's say there is one event I, one event J, and this activity is taking a time TE for event IJ. So earliest expected time for event I would be EI and earliest expected time for event J would be EJ. And to calculate any EJ, this would be equals to maximum of all EI plus TE IJ. So EI is the earliest expected time for event I, EJ is the earliest expected time for event J, and TEIAJ is the expected activity completion time. To find out the EJ for any event, the formula is maximum of all EI plus TEIJ. Now let's see the backward pass computation. Now, what is this backward pass computation? In this, we compute the time in which an event must be completed at the latest. So, in this, for each event, we will try to calculate the latest time by which that event has to be completed at the latest. So, let's say if we have event I and event J, and the activity completion time is TEIJ. So the latest expected time for event I is LI, and LJ would be the latest expected time, latest completion expected time for event J, LJ. And for calculating any LI, the formula is minimum of all Lj minus TEIJ. So we use the forward pass computation and backward pass computation to calculate the critical path and the corresponding critical activity. Now, what is this critical path and why this is called as critical? So, critical path is termed as critical because if any activity on this path is delayed by certain amount of time, the whole project is delayed by the same amount of time. What does that mean? It means on the critical path, whatever the activity is there, you cannot delay that activity. If you try to delay those activities which are on critical path, which are critical activities, the whole project duration will get increased and the project will get delayed. So now we know what is critical path. We know how to calculate critical path. We know how to calculate and draw the network diagram. Now let's try to draw the network diagram. So certain activities A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I is given and the duration is given and the precedence relationship is given. So let's try to draw the network diagram. First activity A is given. So activity A, this is 2. Precedence relationship states that A is predecessor of B, C, and D. So let's say this is activity B, and here some activity C, and here some activity D. Now for activity B, it is given that B is the predecessor of E, F, and G. So here we have activity E. Now activity G and F. Now let's say this is activity F. Now comes the activity G. So B is the predecessor of G. We can start activity G from node 3 here onwards, but if you try to go ahead and read the question for activity D, D is also the predecessor of G. In for B, it is given that B is the predecessor of G, and if you read ahead, it is given that D is also the predecessor of G. So G requires both B and D. So to keep this relationship, now we are going to use the dummy activity. So we will try a dummy activity from here to here. Let's call it dummy activity D1 and this activity here as G. So this would be 4, this would be 5. Now come downwards and see for activity C, the predecessor is I. So C is predecessor of I. So this C is a predecessor of I. Let's take it forward and keep aside activity C as of now. Let's go to activity D. So D is predecessor of G. So D is predecessor of G. We have already drawn that. Now come to activity E. E is predecessor of H. E is predecessor of H. So here comes the activity H. Now come downwards and if you see all activities, activity F, activity G and activity H all have same predecessor as I. So activity F, activity G, activity H. F is this, G is this, H is this, all have predecessor I. So let's make activity I here. So G is predecessor of I, H is predecessor of I, and if you do here, so this F is predecessor of I, and if you go at the top and read for activity C, C is also a predecessor of I. So C is also a predecessor of I, and if you read in the last, I do not have any predecessor because I is the last activity in this particular project. Now we have draw the network diagram, and if you see, we have path A, B, G, I, path A, B, D1, G, I, path A, B, E, H, I, path A, B, F, I, and path A, C, I. So first, write down the duration of each activity. A will take 5 weeks, B will take 7 weeks, C will take 10 weeks, D1 as the dummy activity, so it will take 0 weeks. We already knew that dummy activities do not consume any time or resource. E would take 3 weeks, F would take 9 weeks, G would take 7 weeks, H would take 4 weeks, and I would take 2 weeks. So A5, B7, C10, E3, F9, G7, H4, and I will take 2 weeks. And how many paths are present for us? So if you calculate the different paths, so we have A to D to G to I, then A to B to D1 to G to I, then A to B to E to H to I, then A to B to F to I, and finally A to C to I. So we have total 5 paths. Now to calculate the critical path, we are going to calculate the earliest expected time and the latest arrival time for each and every event. And we know the formula that EJ for any event would be the maximum of all EI plus TEIJ, and LI for any event would be the minimum of all LJs minus TEIJ. Now let's travel the network diagram by forward pass computation and try to calculate the earliest start time for each and every event. So for the first event, it would be 0 because this is the starting event. Now for event 2, it would be 0 plus 5, that would be 5. For event 4, this would be equals to 5 plus activity D. So activity D is taking 6 weeks. So 5 plus 6, that is 11. But event 4 can be reached also by a activity B. So by a node 2 and 3. If you go by node 2 and 3, it would be 5 plus 7, that is 12, plus D1, that is 0. So 12 and 11, maximum is 12. So it would be 12. For event 3, it would be equals to 5 plus 7, that is 12. Then for event 4, 12, because 12 plus 0, 12, and 5 plus 6, 11. So 11 and 12, maximum is 12. Now come to event 5. So E would be equals to 12 plus 3, that is 15. Now come to event 6. So E would be equals to, if you see here, so 12 plus 7, that is 19. Then 15 plus 4, that is 19. Then 12 plus 9, that is 21. Then 5 plus 10, that is 15. So the maximum is 21. And 21 plus 2, so for event 7 it would be 23. Since no other project completion time is given, so we will say that the latest allowable time for event 7 to complete as the earliest allowable time for event 7. So L for event 7 would be 23 only. So L for event 6 would be 23 minus rho, that is 21. Now for event 5, L would be equals to 21 minus 4, that is 17. Now for event 4, L would be equals to 21 minus 7. 21 minus 7 would be equals to 14. Now for event 3, L would be equals to 17, that is L of event 5, minus 3, that would be 14. But if you come here, this is also 14. So 17 minus 3, that is 14, and 14 minus 0 also 14. But event 3 can be reached by D1, by E, and by F as well. So for F, for event 6, L is 21 minus 9. So 21 minus 9, that is 12. So 12 and 14 and 14, minimum is 12. So this would be 12. Now comes to event 2. So for event 2, with respect to event 3, so 12 minus 7, that is 5. And here 14 minus 6, that is 8. So 5 comma 8, minimum is 5. So L would be equals to 5. And here L would be equals to 5 minus 5, that is 0. Now calculate the critical path. So for critical path, each activity would be critical activity and each node would have the same earliest time and the latest time. So equals to 0, L equals to 0, equals to 5, L equals to 5. So this activity is critical activity. I am putting it as a double arrow to indicate the critical activity. And by joining all the critical activities, we will try to get the critical path. So now next event is event 3, which is having E equals to 12 and L equals to 12. So this would be our critical activity. Now if you see the next event, that is event 5, not having E as same as L, not event 4 is having E and L same, but event 6 is having E and L same. So our activity F would be the critical activity, and I'm representing it by double arrow to indicate it as a critical activity. Now event 7 is also having E and L as same. So this would be our critical activity. So finally, our critical path would be A to B to F to I. Now if you go back to the question itself, now our critical path is A to B to F to I, and critical path time would be equals to how much? So a total would be 23. So our answer would be option C. Third option, option C, 23. Let's go to the next question. So question 2 is, the annual demand of walls per year in a company is 10,000 units. The current order quantity is 400 walls per order. The holding cost is rupees 24 per wall per year, and the ordering cost is rupees 400 per order. So if the current order quantity is changed to the economic order quantity, note it, economic order quantity, then the saving in the total cost of inventory per year, total cost of inventory per year will be rupees, round off to 2 decimal places. So in this question, it is asking that in a particular company, there is some annual demand of walls and they are ordering 400 walls per order. What if they switch to economic order quantity? Then what will be the total cost of inventory and the saving in total cost of inventory? So we are going to solve this question by seeing what is the economic order quantity and what is the total inventory cost at present and what will be the total inventory cost at EOQ, that is economic order quantity, and what are the savings we are going to have if we are going to order at economic order quantity. So to see what is the economic order quantity and how can we get the economic order quantity, before that we are going to use some notations here that are capital D, which is annual or yearly demand of inventory item. Now Q is quantity to be ordered, and N is the number of orders placed in a year. So that would be orders per year. And capital T is the time length of one inventory cycle. We can also call it as time gap between two successive orders. So now if you see here carefully, N is the number of orders placed in a year and T is the time gap between two successive orders. So you can say that T is also equals to 1 by N. So by this, T into N equals to 1. Now let's see the graph for the ordering quantity and the time. If you see here, we do have at the starting of time some quantity Q. It is getting depleted by a daily demand of small d. Small d is the demand rate. So it will get consumed in total time, capital T, that is the time gap between two successive orders. And here we will receive our next order, and again it will get depleted in capital T time, and so on and so forward. So now this x-axis or the horizontal axis is the time axis, and the vertical axis or the y-axis is the inventory level in units. So now what is the total inventory cost? So total inventory cost or TIC would have two components, that are ordering cost, that is OC, plus holding cost, that is HC. Now we are representing CO as ordering cost and CH as the holding cost. So the ordering cost would be, we have an yearly demand of capital D. We are ordering Q quantity in each order. So we are going to order total D by Q, and per order we are having cost of CO, that is ordering cost, that is rupees per order, and holding cost is rupees per unit per year. So D by Q into CO would be the ordering cost. Now for holding cost, first let's see, in a cycle of capital T period, we have here at the starting of capital T period a quantity Q, at the end we have a quantity of 0. So average inventory for period T would be equals to Q plus 0 by 2, that is Q by 2. So that is the average inventory, and we know that holding cost is CH. So the holding cost for period T would be equals to the average inventory multiplied by the holding cost, and this holding cost is per year, and we have a time period of capital T. So this would be equals to Q by 2 into CH into capital T. Now the annual holding cost, so this is the holding cost for period T, and how many periods do we have in 1 year? Capital N. So annual holding cost would be equals to capital Q by 2 into CH into capital T multiplied by capital N, and we already know that T into N equals to 1. So this would be equals to Q by 2 into CH. So our total inventory cost would be equals to ordering cost plus holding cost, that would be equals to D by Q into CO plus Q by 2 into CH. As of now, this is just the total inventory cost. Now, let's see what is the economic order quantity or EOQ. So at EOQ or the economic order quantity, the ordering quantity The ordering quantity Q star at which holding cost becomes equal to ordering cost and total inventory cost is minimum. So at economic order quantity or order quantity Q star, the holding cost becomes equals to the ordering cost. So holding cost is Q by 2 into CH and ordering cost is D by Q into CO, but it is at economic order quantity point or order quantity Q star. So I am representing these Q as Q star. So from here, you can simply calculate that Q star or EOQ, that is economic order quantity, would come as under root of 2 into D into CO divided by CH. Now we need total inventory cost at economic order quantity or Q star. So we know that total inventory cost is Q by 2 into CH plus Q by 2 into CS. Now, how do we have Q by 2 into CH plus Q by 2 into CS? Because previously this was ordering quantity, which was D by Q into CO. But now we know that ordering quantity is equals to the holding quantity at economic order quantity, that is EOQ. So this would be equals to Q by 2 into CH. Just go back and see again that we solved here that at economic order quantity, holding cost is equals to the ordering cost and holding cost equals to the ordering cost and holding cost is Q by 2 into CH, that is equals to ordering cost, that is D by Q into CO. So we put the value of D by Q into CO in the next page, that is here the ordering cost D by Q into CO as Q by 2 into CH plus this is already our holding cost, that is Q by 2 into CH, but ordering cost becomes equals to the ordering cost becomes equals to the holding cost only at economic order quantity. So this Q will convert as Q star, this Q will convert as Q star, and the total would be equals to Q by 2 into CH plus Q by 2 into CH would be equals to Q star into CH. Now what is this? This is total inventory cost at economic order quantity. And we already know that our Q star is economic order quantity, which is equals to under root of 2D into CO by CH. So put the value of Q in the total inventory cost at EOQ, you will get total inventory cost at EOQ would be Q star into CH. Q star is 2 into D into CO whole divided by CH multiplied by CS. So this will be equals to under root of 2 into DO into CO into CH. So this is our total inventory cost at EOQ. Now go back to the question and see the question once again. What the question is asking? The question is asking that they are already placing the order by 400 quantities in each order or 400 walls in each order. What if they switch from this order quantity to the economic order quantity? So what will be the saving in the total cost of inventory? So to calculate the savings of total cost of inventory, so savings would be equals to total inventory cost in case 1, that is present case, minus total inventory cost at economic order quantity. So let's calculate the total inventory cost in our case 1, that is first case. So case 1, it is given that annual demand capital D equals to 10,000 units and holding cost, that is CH, equals to rupees 24 per unit per year, and ordering cost, that is CO, equals to rupees 400 per order, and they are ordering quantity Q1 is 400 units per order. So the total inventory cost in case 1 would be equals to the ordering cost plus holding cost. Now see what is the ordering cost. So ordering cost for case 1 would be equals to capital D by Q1 into CO, which is capital D we know as 10,000 and capital D as 10,000 divided by Q1. So in case 1 we are ordering 400 units and the ordering cost is 400 units. So D by Q into CO would come as 10,000 rupees. Now the holding cost for case 1 would be, as we already saw in the economic order quantity derivation, that holding cost would be equals to Q1 by 2 into CH. So it would be equals to 400 by 2 into holding cost, that is 24 rupees per unit per year. So it would come as 4,800. Now we know that total inventory cost for case 1 is ordering cost plus holding cost. So this would be equals to 10,000 plus 4,800. So total would come as 14,800 rupees. Now let's calculate the total inventory cost at EOQ. Now total inventory cost at economic order quantity would be equals to, as we knew the formula which we derived before, that is, if you can see here, that total inventory cost formula at EOQ would be equals to under root of 2DCO into CH. So put this formula here under root of 2 into D into CO into CH, so which is under root of 2 into D is the capital, D is the annual demand, that is 10,000, multiplied by ordering cost, that is 400, multiplied by holding cost, that is 24 rupees per unit per year. So if you calculate this, this will come as 13,854 rupees and 41 paisa. So now see the question once again, what the question is asking. So question is asking the savings if we switch from the current case to the economic order quantity case. We know the total inventory cost in the case 1, that is the present case, which is equals to 14,800 minus total inventory cost at economic order quantity, that is 13,854.41. So the difference or our savings would be equals to rupees 943.59. So this would be our savings. And this is a numerical type of question, so our answer would be this only, that is 943.59. Thank you.